show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of the Crew Podcast. We have two special hosts that's joining us tonight. They're going to be sharing about the prison pipeline, something that's very needed. So I want you guys to make sure that you share this episode with somebody, invite somebody to tune in with you tonight, because I guarantee you will be educated, empowered, and encouraged to get involved and to share this with someone. So I want you to grab your favorite beverage, grab you a pen, get comfortable, and get ready for tonight's episode. I'm super excited to have these two amazing co-hosts to share tonight. We have Dwayne and Dr. Sissy. I'm going to go ahead and bring them up. I'm going to go ahead and bring them up. And y'all, go ahead and share this out with somebody.
Hi.
Welcome.
We're going to be talking about the prison pipeline from reform to recidivism. We got the R's going on. Dwayne, how are you?
I'm doing fine this evening. How about yourself?
Good, good. Um, are you showing that your screen is frozen on your end?
No, my screen is just fine.
Okay, there we go. Little glitching.
Oh, okay.
I am in California, and I know we have a governor, Governor Newsom, who has done so much for the prison system. In 16, Proposition 57 was passed. And so it reforms a couple things. It reduces sentences from felonies down to misdemeanors. And of course, what that does is it affects the time. So it'll cut down on the population within the prison system. So that was a very helpful thing. He's also working on some legislation currently for lifers. So I'm really excited to see that. I think it's about time.
Most definitely, most definitely. In this country, we've had an epidemic for decades of what everyone hears that term, prison pipeline, or the school to prison pipeline, or to prison pipeline, and we really never get in depth to what that really means.
Mhm.
And in this instance today, we want to kind of deal with the overall aspects of what the prison pipeline really is and how it affects our daily life, and how it affects the things that we do, how we do it, and how we can do what Governor Newsom and a few other governors across this nation have been doing over the past few years to cartel people going to prison, giving them alternative programs to where they can get their lives back in order and everything else. When we look at what we call a pipeline, meaning that something is giving us a straight path to another end from a start point to where we began, um, we can see, and even in our school systems, from grade school to intermediate, middle school to high school, that a lot of the things that they do and how they teach our kids, and all the way down to the tables and chairs that they sit in the lunchrooms, and how they've actually changed that. And a lot of that seating is the same seating that you see when you go into the prison systems, whether that's in the state of Texas where I am, or in the state of California where Sissy is. You see a lot of these things that mimic what we see in the prison system, and it's almost like it's grooming our children to be able to be comfortable to the aspects of prison. Remember back in the day when we were growing up, you would always hear your parents say, "Don't do this, don't do that," and we'll be so fearful of doing it because of them giving us those warnings. These days, our society has been so conditioned to be used to those things that prison brings. So you hear kids saying things like, "I don't fear prison." I'm not scared of jail because they've already been there in their local elementary school, in their local middle school. The buses that they ride are the same Bluebird buses that the prisoners are taking in when they go to prison. So it's a lot of familiar moments that we have conditioned our kids and even ourselves to when it comes to prison. And so those are the pipeline issues that we don't really touch and we don't discuss. More so, we discuss the disparities of prison, the disparities of charging, the disparities of sentences, and all of that different things. But we don't talk about the root cause of getting to that disparity, the root cause of making our kids so desensitized to where they're willing to go with their friends and rob a store, or willing to go with their friends and commit a crime because they don't fear the consequences because they have been conditioned
Yeah.
to understand and know what that feels like because they're in a classroom all day long that is telling them they can't use their cell phones. You can't talk in class. You can't eat in class. You can't do this. You can't do that. And that's the same thing you get in prison. You
It
can't
is.
take your cell phone with you. You can't do any of those things. And so that's the conditioning part of the prison pipeline. Sissy, could you speak to that for a little bit?
Well, from the time before I was even born, you had magazines with pinups, and all it was a gal with a bathing suit. Well, take a look at what you see on beaches these days. Oh my goodness! So over the years, what they would be considered desensitization compared to now is nothing. And subliminally too, you have a lot of things fed in and to children uh, as they grow up, and
Yes,
so it becomes second nature to them. And also peer pressure. Well, there's something to be said about that. Wanting to be accepted, you don't something you wouldn't normally do or you're taught not to do, you would do anyhow, and then all of a sudden you're faced with something and you're like, oh, I guess I really should have thought this out. So I think
yes,
a lot of that has to do with it as well, besides the desensitization aspect of it. um, but there are a lot of juvenile programs that actually work hand in hand with different counties. If there are infractions, if things move forward where a child gets into the system and they have to do that, to give them those aha moments otherwise that they wouldn't have had.
yes. And
So,
that's another element as well. Some states and some counties and cities do an excellent job at diversion programs
mhm.
to keep our youth out of the system. You do have some that don't. I know here in Texas we have a lot of instances where parents are dragged down to the actual jail, to the county, to have to give answer for truancy, for things that would normally be something that we'd handle at the principal's office. Now they're making it a criminal offense, misdemeanor, mind you, but it's still a criminal offense. That if something doesn't happen, the first thing the kid sees at 5, 6 years old is the SRO officer, the police officer assigned to the school. And so this officer that has a gun and has handcuffs and has a police car outside, this kid is now seeing that for the first time instead of seeing their counselor or seeing their teacher or coach or the principal to discipline. So we've already started taking the discipline out the hands of the parent. We took the discipline out of the hand of the administration, and now we put discipline right onto the doorstep of the law enforcement officer who introduces you to the court system, who introduces you to prison. And so those are the beginning fruits of the prison pipeline, and that really started in the late '90s, going into the early 2000s, to where we start making that condition of grooming our kids to be familiar with law enforcement on the tail end of this may send you to jail. Rather than law enforcement, when I was growing up, we saw them driving down the street. We were flagging them down so we can get a football card or a basketball card, or we can just talk to them and say, "Hey, run your lights so we can hear them." Those were the interactions of law enforcement in the late '70s and the early '80s. But now we have to where a kid wouldn't even think to stop an officer. I
Yeah.
spoke to an officer the other day and he actually jumped because I actually was speaking to him and said hi. And it made me laugh. And after he got through jumping, I was like, Oh man, you conditioned, aren't you? And he just bust out laughing because he thought about it. But it's a moment to where even they have been conditioned
Mhm.
to have the mentality of the prison pipeline because they have to look for certain people. They have to be aware of certain things. They're looking that our youth are not even innocent anymore, that they may at any moment harm them as officers. So everyone on every side is starting to be conditioned for this thing in this moment that's called prison pipeline. And so we as a society, and what we're hoping to start the discussion of tonight is acknowledging that, but also looking at what we can do from our standpoint, because everyone can't go to their legislature and get change. We can maybe write them and all of that stuff, but this stuff, that's so much of a long process. But we all can start in our own homes. We can start in our local communities with our own schools, and we can begin to have them with our school boards change some of those programs. And as Sissy was talking about, where some of these cities have made steps and strides to give our kids alternative discipline rather than having them the first time they get in trouble. They're looking at an officer in the back of the car at 5, 6 years old. They would actually have someone mentoring them, getting with their parents and helping them divert from that bad behavior. And I think that's what we need to start working on, identifying the things that look like and that mimic prison and start getting those things out of our school. Let's go back to regular chairs for the lunchroom. Go ahead, sister.
There are a lot of programs, not as many as there should be, but many towns, many cities have like a boys and girls club, a center, if you will, which is so helpful. It helps the kids with homework. They play sports with one another. They have that camaraderie. They feel wanted. When you have, they say idle hands, you know, the saying from idle hands. You don't
Yeah.
want a child to have idle hands. When they have idle hands, they're easily influenced into doing things that perhaps are a no-no. And so between the time school lets out and parents get off of work, this is a really good in between. They have teachers or volunteers even there that help the kids with their homework, and also they just uh, they provide a sense of belonging. And I truly believe at the heart of hearts with anybody, a sense of belonging really has to do a lot with that. If we can instill in our child the foundation of a sense of belonging, I'll bet you that would take down the percentage quite a bit of youth offenders.
Most definitely. And that is the first action that we can take as a community. Let's start funding and start supporting our local boys club, our local YMCA's, our local organizations through our churches and youth programs through various organizations in our neighborhoods. Let's start getting with them. Let's start getting with our baseball, football, basketball programs and strengthening them so they can be an outlet for our kids.
Yeah.
So when they are struggling, when they are having problems at home, when they are having behavioral issues or bullying issues or being bullied, we can stop the progress of crime and criminal behavior in our youth at the bottom of the forefront, and that's before it happens. If we just concentrate more on our local organizations and not rely so much on the police department and our county institutions to keep the youth that we think are a problem. Sometimes we can just reach out to our neighbor, and our neighbor can spend time with that young person and get them to go where they need to be and get them to the organizations where they need to be. We have to come together as a community and start teaching our youth the things and the behavior principles and also the discipline to not put themselves in the positions to where they will need someone to take them to jail or introduce them to the court system or the judicial system or even the prison. And so that's an important moment is that we need to lean more on Boys Club. I was actually in the Boy Scouts, in the Cub Scouts, and I also went to the Boys Club. And the Boys Club was where I saw a lot of my first concerts, where we were able to go to all kind of different venues all over the country. because the boys club, it may have cost my mama $15, $20 a week, but it was worth it because it kept us out of trouble. It kept us focused. It kept us in a place to where we had a sense of well-being as young men and young women over at the girls club. And those are the things that's really missing these days because people have been taught to fear those organizations because of what our society norms have been. We're scared someone's going to harm our kids. We're scared of all these different things. While the people that have the help for us are at the boys' club, are at the girls' club, they are at the Salvation Army, they are at the YMCA. And so we have to start, or the YWCA, we need to start leaning in on those organizations, being a part, volunteering, doing the things we have to do because we have to start giving our youth that other alternative to a prison pipeline, and that's actually a pipeline to success in their lives. And it starts with that.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on something too. A lot of parents have their kids have different sports from any type of martial arts, baseball, football, basketball, just different things like that. A lot of them play on the tennis teams too. They learn that at a very young age. So it's not just there the count a lot of counties and towns, they offer the different teams and different aspects like that. It's very difficult for parents to transport their children back and forth to these events. I know it is. So it really does take a village. They have a lot of parents that are available, so you take turns. Maybe if you're available on a weekend and they're not, or whatever the case may be, but you work together in unity for the greater purpose of your child. And that's really what it boils down to, from a child, from knee high to a grasshopper on. It really does take a village, because besides, parental in-home care that's given, the outside is even a greater influence on that child. So we have to work on that aspect of rearing our children when we're doing so. I wish it came with a manual.
I know, right? If life came with a manual, we all would be better, huh? And
Right?
that's the I guess the next step after that, because we have local and community organizations, our own actions of being in those organizations, relying on the village to help us out when we're a busy parent, or even if there's some single parents out there that a single mom, a single dad, or a grandparent that's raising their grandkids, or uncles and aunties that's raising their nieces and nephews, lean on your community to help you out. The second phase outside of that is everyone in the community helping your local city government be better for you. And that means showing up to the city council meetings. That means being a part of the budget. That means being part of those meetings and letting them know, hey, we need this because we have kids that need this. And helping them to start putting money toward these kids, because right now the money is going to the schools not to do education or provide education, it's going to the schools to actually secure the schools. And that means that if they're securing the schools, that means they're going to get your child out if your child has a behavior issue. If your child seems like they're going to have a issue, they're going to get them out to school because they're looking for security and not education right now. And so we have to reverse that trend. We have to start getting more involved and making them and forcing them to start funding education again and teaching our kids ABCs instead of prison one, two, threes. And that's kind of what we need to concentrate on the next step. And so that means some of us taking a few moments out of our time once a month and maybe rotate. Hey, my neighbor on the other side, you go this week and let everybody know what happens. Next month, I'll go. And then I'll let everybody know what happened. The next month, the next person go. And everybody's working together because we're protecting our kids because we're already grown. We're grown. I got grandkids. Sissy got grandkids. And so at the end of the day, we've already participated in whatever form and fashion that we're going to do in society. Now we're trying to protect our grandkids to be able to go and not worry about the prison pipeline. We did have some of our presidents that stepped up and did a great job of curtailing different things that have to do with disparities in prison sentences and charges and with that our populations have gone down. I know here in the state of Texas in the month of March, we were only like maybe 130 some thousand people that were actually locked up in this state, and that's a good thing. Even though it's a lot of folks, but that's still a good thing because that's down a whole lot from what we normally would have in our prison system. So that means that a lot of the things that they did worked. A lot of the programs that they did, so people wouldn't repeat as offenders, it worked. And so those are the things that we have to make sure. If you know your neighbor across the street is a felon and they're having a hard time finding a job, reach out as a neighbor and say, hey, I know a place that's hiring up the street, or my job is hiring. Won't you come over there and apply? Be a friendly person. You know, sometimes we just have to do the small things in order to help out the masses. And in that, we'll keep that individual employed and moving forward and help them. And that way they won't have to worry about having to be put in a position to where they have to make a choice of doing good or bad. And so some of those steps are things that we can start taking of just really paying attention. I know sometimes we can get in our own feelings and our own beliefs and we see someone with a felony or we know they've been to prison and we can clutch our purse and lock our doors and all the things that we do. But sometimes give them grace. Lest you be in the same position. And let's start reaching out to them and helping them, help support them so that way they can find their way. Because once they find their way, they'll be the main person to help you and to help someone else. And that's the second step of the prison pipeline, how to destroy that pipeline is to start acknowledging that we have a society that probably over half of the people have been in the judicial system some way, shape, form, or fashion. Let's support those people and let's be able to get them to move forward in life so they won't have to go backwards. And that'll keep those numbers going down and give our youth an example of what it looks like to not even have to worry about that moment. And but if they do find themselves there, there is help to be able to avoid that or get out of it and do better.
Oh, for sure. There are programs right now. I know in not the county that I'm in, but the county that's just right next to me too. They have, if you take different classes, almost like continuing education, which is really helpful. They teach a lot of de-escalation courses. They teach um, communication courses, and it's really helpful. You know, a lot of times people won't talk if they're around an authority figure. So if you have a young adult in their 20s that is willing to take these courses, that wants to learn and become, if you will, a facilitator, they have these
Yeah.
courses where they come together almost very like an AA meeting, if you will. You know, whether it's a substance abuse or you have people who have been um, we call it juvie here, um, juvenile hall. They've been in some sort of had some sort of infraction or whatever, or family issues, just really anything. And they come together and they have these group meetings and they're able to talk about their concerns, and it's really difficult when they're in the same environment in their home and their friends and the family and the town and everything to not repeat the same thing. And it recycles. And so dealing with the youth with these programs, it doesn't always have to be a mediator or a psychologist that actually facilitates these. They have the group classes that they have, and it's really awesome to see these kids get into it. I work with them, so it's just kind of um, great to see them bloom. They're so happy to do so. You know why? Because they have a sense of belonging.
Yes. Yes.
um, you know, and the thing is that if you can catch them young, and I hate to say that just sounds so horrible, catch a young adult young. But
Yes.
if you nip it off before it becomes a consistent thing, so you eliminate that recidivism of them going back um, as an adult, they won't be part of the statistics on that. So his Wi-Fi. Are you back? There we go.
Yeah. That's the key. The we have to uh, work hard to start young with our kids of teaching them those values, uh, helping them out. And when they get into a moment to where they're like, oh wow, life is hard, it's this, that, to be able to guide them through at young ages. I'm not talking about teenage ages. I'm talking about young elementary ages, catching them young, just like you stated, so we can move forward and help them out so they can make good decisions when they get a little older. And it starts, and that leads us to the third part of this moment, is leaning out toward our faith-based organizations and our faith-based community. I would speak to them directly and say, I need you guys to do better. I need you to do better at establishing programs to reach out back to those individuals that happen to find themselves in trouble. And not only those people, but also creating the programs again that our youth can actually go to the churches. You know, they used to have vacation Bible schools that any kid could come to, and they used to have summer camps. They used to have all kind of things that kids in the neighborhood can just go to these faith-based organizations, and regardless of your faith, you can go in and have a safe place to learn and to play and to do all the things you need to do while your idle mind is just out there in life. And so we need to get back to that moment. I know that it's been a contentious moment because of all the things that we face in this society, but we need to, those of goodwill and faith, need to start correcting those things first, and then providing those safe places through our faith-based organizations to be able to help our youth and to help guide them, to help finance some of these things that these counties and cities that can't really afford it. Our faith-based organizations can. They have plenty of money, and so they can get together and start giving grants out to the local municipality to help them with after-school programs, to help them with different things to help the youth, and for those families that are struggling with an adolescent that maybe have some type of issues, they can then step in and help them and keep them out the system and help them with a diversion program instead. And those are things that we need to really concentrate on. Go ahead, Sissy.
No, that just really along the same lines. I know in where I live, we have doctors for detriment, and so you
Yeah,
have some of those kids who don't want to move forward and actually they just stay Billy Badass. You
yeah.
know, they've been programmed to just not give in to anything because it's a defense mechanism. So you have doctors that are belong to this, and so we go in there and counsel, and we have to actually deconstruct that behavior. That's a definite thing. But you know, the thing is, those are specialists that do that. So I mean, if there's any doctors that are listening, please look into it, into your, into your own area, and see if you can help out that way as well. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, that it's not just the counties. If you actually specialize and you've gone to school and you want to help out, really, all help is great help. So please don't think that you're not going to matter.
You're definitely right about it. And just to top off this topic today, because we don't want to belabor too long today, um, we are really stating today that the prison pipeline is a problem in our society. We all know it. We've all seen it. We understand it. Some of us have been through it, in it, worked in it, have family members been through it, the system itself. But we understand now that we need to start doing things different for our next generation. And so we have to start paying attention to these things that we're talking about today. Just small things of being able to just change our own local communities so it can spread forward throughout this country, and we can leave our youth better off than what we were. Not seeing the things that we've had to see, they can actually go out and really be successful. And the ones that need help, they can get the help, and then they can turn around and be successful. So that's the reason for this today, is to really uh, speak to that without getting to all the technical moments of it today. And we just really encourage everyone to reach out to those in your community, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, your pastors, your elders, and sometimes your local city municipality. Reach out to them and let them know that, hey, we want to find something that we can do to continue to build our community, but let's do it in a different way, so we won't let our youth see the judge. We won't let them see the police officer. We won't let them see the local prison system. And then we can then turn the tide for our officers as well to have a comfortability knowing that our kids are going to not treat them a certain way. And then everybody can live in a better society than what we have right now.
Yeah, true that. They're the children are our future, guys. And I know that you hear that all the time. But I really just kind of want to encourage you to just, ponder that for a minute. Take that and, if you will, sit with it. The children are our future. We need to invest in our children. This, whether they're adults or even, juvenile offenders, that just continues on. It it's too wide and spread, and it really just needs to stop. It's difficult this day and age. I get it. There's, two income families that have to work. Sometimes people work multiple jobs just to survive, just to pay the bare minimum bills. So I know it's hard, and I know a lot of children end up raising themselves a lot because, you have no choice. So that's even more reason to reach out to your neighbors. Reach out to
Yes.
those centers that are available, any and all resources out there available to give you different avenues to provide that support for your child because you're not there. And here's the thing is when you are able to be there, guess what? They're going to rally around you as well. So it's a camaraderie not only for adults, but for your children in participation of that.
You're definitely right. And with that, Dr. Sissy, I think we're going to end this session today. It was a great discussion, being able to talk about the prison pipeline, being able to introduce this topic to the masses, and hopefully we help someone to understand a little bit about the prison pipeline, but also some actions that you can take to start to curtail that prison pipeline. This was fun, and I definitely thank you, Dr. Sissy. We thank the crew, Angela, for Miss Angela, Dr. Angela, all of that, because she's all of that moment. We definitely appreciate her for this moment. And is there anything you want to say before we leave, Dr. Sissy?
Have a blessed Thanksgiving, guys.
Most definitely. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. And from myself, Dwayne, and my family, and Dr. Sissy, we thank you for listening in. And you guys have a blessed day. Bye bye.